party people or autumn lovers or just friends. Great that you made it here. If you're new here, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Hannah and this is Pages on Purls, where I talk all about knitting and other hobbies that I have, but primarily knitting. And if you've been here before, welcome back. Welcome to my fall, autumn plans, dreams, whatever video. I've been wanting to film this one for a while, but there were a few things going on that didn't allow me to film. Mainly my partner injuring himself and working from home for 2 weeks, so that in a studio apartment, I didn't really want to film sitting like a meter from him, talking to a camera. So yeah, I just skipped and now we're here filming. What didn't work out for me is that if you've been here before, you may have heard that I am currently based in New York, but I will be moving to the UK soon. In fact, today is Monday the 25th of September and I'm going to move at the end of the week. So our place is a little bit chaotic right now because we already packed a lot during the weekend because we have to ship some things. And there's not really a cozy place set up that I can easily film anymore because everything else looks chaotic. So changed the location to my bed to at least have not just, boxes and chaos in the background. But yeah, I still wanted to film this fall plans video because I always love watching these with others, and I also like to make plans myself, or at least dream a little bit about patterns that I could maybe make. And yeah, without further ado, let's just get into it. I made a list of things that I want to knit this fall, and they have different levels of either they're already on the needles. I won't talk too much about those. In fact, actually, the ones on the needles I'll probably mostly keep for my next podcast episode. But I have some that I already have yarn for, or at least I have yarn, like parts of the yarn for. And then there are some that I really want to make, some that are kind of honorable mentions because I would love to get to them if I get to them, but realistically, I'm not going to be able to knit all of the stuff that I'm going to talk about. So yeah, but still wanted to mention them. And I also separated into garments and accessories. I was going to make maybe a separate part for socks, but for some reason in the last weeks, my sock mojo has been down quite a bit. So I don't really want to make specific plans for knitting socks this fall because I don't want them to drag, and I feel like it's maybe a bit of a hangover of tiny needle projects from summer, not wanting me to, pick up small circumference, small needle socks. I don't know if anybody of you feels the same way, if you've seen your sock knitting motivation go down. But for me, that's the case. So maybe I will make some socks this fall, but I'm not going to plan on it very specifically. But I have some other very exciting plans. And maybe before I get into it, I can briefly talk about what I'm wearing. This is my cottage cardigan. It's a pattern by Jacqueline Cieslak, which has these lovely, very deep armholes. It's a very cozy, very soft, drapey cardigan. I knit this in Purl Soho linen quill in the color butterscotch yellow, and it's this really beautiful buttery, apple cidery yellow that glows a bit more or less depending on how the light hits. And I love it now for fall. This weekend was the first weekend when it actually cooled down in New York City. We've been having mid-high 60s Fahrenheit, around 16 to 18 degrees Celsius. So for the first time, AC can go off, we can open the windows, and it's actually nice and refreshing outside. It has rained a lot, but that makes it extra cozy. So yeah, I've been wearing this sweater or this cardigan a little bit more now that I can, and I really love it. So this was definitely already my first project that I wanted to make this summer to be able to wear this fall. But let's get into my plans as promised. I'm gonna put the links to all the patterns in the description box, and I'm gonna try to put pictures around my head somewhere whenever I talk about a pattern so you know what I'm talking about. But the first sweater that I actually want to talk about, that I really want to make, and that has been on my wish list for a while now, is Emily Curtis's So Gently Chaotic Knits My Dad's Sweater, which is this really cool crew neck sweater that looks almost, just like a 90s style sweater, but in knit form. And I already have the yarn for this. This is also why I mentioned it first. I have this super, super beautiful Sueño tweed by Haiku. That's the brand. This is what it looks like. So you see that it has these, it's a cream color with bright pink, purple, yellow, and blue, like light blue speckles or tweed nubs. And I made a gauge swatch for the sweater. Maybe you can see them better, how they show up. And yeah, I just really love it because I've always found tweed very cozy and very nice looking. If you have a very basic base color, it's easy to combine with a lot of things, but the tweed makes it look a little bit more rustic and cozy somehow. And I love that I found this type of tweed where the tweed bits are not, I don't know, other neutrals, not gray or brown or anything, but actually very colorful, which to me gives it a bit more of a modern look. So I want to make the dad sweater in this. The yarn, I don't have the ball band here with me right now, but I think it's a superwash merino blend with viscose or bamboo, or maybe viscose from bamboo, I'm not sure. So it's not 100% superwash, and you can also feel that a little bit in the yarn because it's a bit, it's still stretchy, but it feels a tiny bit drier than a pure superwash merino would feel like. But yeah, so that's my first plan. I really want to make this soon. I think it can be a really nice sweater to wear in autumn, and then also whenever it gets really dark and dreary and gray, the nice colors will hopefully cheer me up a little bit. So that's why, yeah, I'm planning it for this autumn. The good thing is also that it's a clear yarn, so if it's dark inside, I can still see what I'm knitting on. I'm saying this because I'm currently knitting on a darker yarn, which I always have to see a bit when I knit to see my stitches. But I will talk about that in a moment. So yeah, that's the dad sweater that I really want to make. Then another sweater that I kind of have yarn for, but not quite, is the Double Date sweater by Winter's Weather Knits. This sweater is inspired by a sweater that Rory Gilmore wears in a Gilmore Girls episode that is called Double Date, and that's why the sweater is called Double Date sweater. It's this really nice, not really stripy, but you have these colored patterns kind of on the base color that are not really any complex color work, I believe. But yeah, I really like this sweater, and particularly I thought of this because at some point I was talking to Chelsea from True Lane Knits, and she sent me this Bowden fall collection link whenever they were presenting whatever new outfits or garments they came out with, and I found this very, very pretty blue striped, blue patterned sweater that you'll see here somewhere with these green, pink, orange stripes on it. And I really want to make something like that, especially in that color combination. Not necessarily that type of, like those type of squares as stripes. So I think the Double Date sweater satisfies my, I don't know, vision of how I want the colors to blend into the background. But yeah, I already have a bit of yarn for it, which I don't have here. It's in a vacuum in some box at the moment. But I have this Hudson West Weld, which is, I showed it in my last podcast episode as a new acquisition. I'm going to see if I find the material so I can just blend in maybe the yarn that I have. So I have these 3 colors already, and I was thinking of finding, whenever I get to the UK, a yarn that I could use for the blue background and then maybe a light blush pink still to combine, and then instead of the orange in the sweater I would use the more like tobacco-y brown that I have. I was thinking of using John Arbon DK Knit by Numbers, I believe it's called. I think it's a slightly more rustic yarn as well, that yardage wise and so on could work with what I have. The yarn that I have is a very heavy fingering weight, so I think I could, like, it's a very lofty, airy fingering weight, so maybe I could use it with a DK gauge, but I have to see. Anyway, so this sweater is one that I really want to make. I love the kind of, I don't see that combination of colors so often, but I really like it. It's not necessarily super autumnal in color, but the browns and greens to me still, yeah, point in that direction a little bit. And I just really want to make it. I will have to see a bit if I want to make the sweater that oversized or a little bit more form-fitting, just maybe a bit less positive ease. I'm not sure yet. I will have to decide. But yeah, in any case, I'm really excited to make that, and I think it'll be kind of nice to also have a combination of yarns that I picked up while living here in the US and then combine them with yarns from my new place. Yeah, let's see. I already wrote down some shops in London of places I could go to, and I think one or two of them even carry the John Arbon Knit by Numbers, so I will be able to check the colors there and match and see if they work together. Alright, so from moving on to maybe more autumn colored or autumn color palette garments that I want to make. I have two. Both of those I don't have yarn for yet, but I really see the gap in my wardrobe for them. And one of them is slipovers in general. I made one slipover at the beginning of this year, which I really like. It's this kind of pink purple leaning, also with colorful bits of tweed in there, slipover. But I would like to have a more classic one, let's say, or at least more easily to combine with my shirts. And I want something textured. I think my general idea for this fall is trying to put in lots of texture into my knits. So I have my eyes set on the Friday slipover by Petite Knit. I'm not entirely sure if I will make the Friday slipover yet, but I do really like the broken rib pattern. Something in it calls to me, and I would like to make it in a very dark, rich red, more like a wine red, like, so more like burgundy leaning. But this is what I wanted to show you. I'm knitting on this sweater right now in this really beautiful purple, dark burgundy purple. And for the slipover, I'm thinking something more red leaning than that. So not quite as purple, grape colored, but more red leaning. But yeah, I think that kind of slipover would be really nice for layering now in autumn when it's not as cold yet. And I really see myself wearing that with this white and blue striped button down that I have and a pair of gray pants, and then that layered on top to me somehow gives me just dark academia vibes, which our academia vibes will fit with my next job as well. But let's see if I can make that. I feel like I already have so many plans that probably by the time I get to the slipover it's gonna be late autumn, but I think that's okay as well. The UK usually has fairly mild weather, so maybe in late autumn I will still be able to work on that. But yeah, slipovers in general. I've also seen very, very many nice cabled slipovers. For some reason, most cabled slipovers, or even all cabled slipovers that I've seen so far, are V-neck. And I'm still not sure yet how much I like a V-neck in a vest. I feel like because I want to wear them with either t-shirts or with button-downs, to me, I kind of like a higher round neck than a V-neck in them. But maybe I just have to try one on one day, maybe in a shop, to see if I would like the look of that, because I've actually never tried. But yeah, there are so many nice vest patterns out there. So apart from having plans for the Friday slipover, I just have a general idea of knitting a few more slipovers this fall and winter, because I think I would like to have more of those in my wardrobe. All right, tea break. I'm drinking chai with oat milk, so just to complete the cozy vibes. Okay, and then one last garment that I have on the things that I really want to knit this fall is the stripe hype dress by Kutuva Kika, which is this very, very pretty, very bright and cheerful looking stripy dress. Now, I've never knit a dress before, and I think it's gonna take me quite a while because obviously you just have to add more length. But I really like the look of this stripe hype dress. I have one or two knit dresses and I really like wearing them in, well, whenever it gets rainy and cold, because it's just very snuggly. But still, if they're shaped properly, I think they can still look really nice and not just like an oversized jumper, obviously. So this stripe hype dress, I don't have the yarn for yet. I was holding off on it. I made plans with Trulane, Chelsea, to knit this dress together so we can motivate each other a little bit, and I did not want to pick up all the yarn for it and then have to transport it. But I have plans, namely using Knitting for Olive Merino in a color palette that I already put together, which I will show you here. I'm not sure yet if I will add one more color to it or not. So the original stripe hype dress is this drop shoulder dress that you can obviously knit to the length that you want, but I think the designer knitted to a little bit below knee length. And her design has 7 different colors included for the stripes, but in the pattern you have sort of options of, or guidelines of how to make it with fewer stripes. And I'm somewhere, considering between using 6 or 7 different colors. The 6 colors that I've already picked out, you can see them here. So they're, Knitting for Olive Merino, and I think there's also one Sundness Sunday in there. They are, or Sundness Double Sunday. I would hold them double in any case, like 2 strands. So I have this kind of cream, maybe a little bit cool beige leaning one. I will list the colors below because I don't remember them right now. Then again, like a dark red burgundy, something like what I want to use for the slipover as well. This rose, dusty rose kind of color. I also want to add this sort of mustard yellow, and then this forest pine green. And I'm considering of still maybe adding an orange in there, like a bit more muted orange, not a super bright orange. But I think that would basically make the dress look like I'm wearing all the colors of fall, which the idea is, really, I really want to make this. I just picture myself wearing this, and that's, just motivating and inspiring. So, as I said, though, I still have to pick up the yarns for it whenever I get to the UK. And I'm also planning to potentially not knit this dress quite as oversized as suggested in the pattern. Because I don't want to wear 800, so I think I would have to knit a size M based on the suggested positive ease, which would give me a garment that is above 800 grams, which to me seems quite heavy, almost a kilogram of a dress. And also, because you do hip increases, I don't love super oversized dresses. My upper body is, I don't have a super narrow waist or anything, so if I make it very oversized, I think those kind of oversized dresses without any shaping, if they're not closer to my body, they make me look like I'm wearing a potato sack kind of, and I want to avoid that. So I was thinking to go down a size, so knit a size S, which still has some positive ease on me, just not as much, and then that should maybe make it better. It does have a slight A-line, the dress, I believe, in the shaping, so that should be okay, should make it easier. But I haven't seen so many people knit this, and there are not so many Ravelry pages out there, so I guess I just have to try it for myself or wait a few months to see if more people will maybe make that dress. But this is something I'm excited for. I really like knit dresses, as I said, and I think it's cool if I'm now going to be able to make my own. And I think that wraps up the garments that I've planned that I haven't cast on yet. With my cast-ons, I'm already actually satisfying quite some patterns that I wanted to knit this fall, so I'll just hold them up briefly so you see them. Don't want to spend too much time on them because it's not a podcast episode, but this is the Ingrid sweater by Petite Knit, which I'm currently working on in this lovely cream shade. I think this will be super snuggly and nice and very pretty looking, and it also satisfies all my cravings for texture and patterns. So this is one. Then I am also, as I already briefly showed you, knitting this sweater. This is a test knit. This is this dark purple color. It shows up as much darker when I hold it closer to me, but I really, really love this colorway. This is a test knit for Iris Hardage, who is H. Iris Makes. It's called the Cirrus sweater, which is going to be a... I don't know what that construction is. This is new to me. I think it might be a saddle shoulder, but basically it has these really, really nice broken rib details on the shoulder, along the collar, and I will show it more in detail, obviously, whenever I'm further along. So that's dark color, light color satisfied. Then next thing that I'm knitting is a hat that is this super, super nice luminant orange. There, this is more close to the color that it actually is. It's not red, it's more like an orange. And then I'm also knitting still a sleeveless, tank top as a kind of leftover from summer or layering piece, which is another orange piece, more brown leaning maybe this one, which is this top, the twist loop top by And Other Loops, that has cables in the front. Oh, I'm showing you the backside. Very smart of me. So this it has cables in the front. I knit my first cables with this, and it's a lot of fun. But it's very tiny needles, so this is gonna take me some time still, I think. But yeah, you can see if I hold up all these knits together, we already have a very nice color combination, I think. But I definitely feel the wish to knit on reds or oranges and everything that is like fall colored at the moment. So some honorable mentions in terms of garments are just a few that I wanted to briefly talk about. One thing that I really want to have as part of my acquisitions at some point in the next month, when I manage to go to a yarn shop in London, is the new Line magazine, because it has such pretty designs in it. There is this very, very stunning cabled sweater that is called the Sanceré sweater by the designer Olga Putano. It's this really like grape wine colored, very pretty cable knit. But I think it's a good cable knit for beginner cablers like me, because you don't have a cable on many of the rows. A lot of it is just knits and purls, and then every now and then you have a cable row. That one is very pretty, and I'm actually also very much in love with the color of the sample. But there are so many other pretty designs in this magazine as well. Very nice gloves and hats. This stranded colorwork sweater that looks like you're kind of having dots of the contrast color in the sweater. So yeah, I have to pick that one up, but my favorite at the moment from this magazine is this cabled sweater, and I feel like if I don't manage to get to that this fall, I will take it with me into winter, because I'm really eager to make a cabled sweater. I'm not sure yet if I would go for a similar color as that, or maybe for something darker green, or maybe actually a light color to show off the cables a little bit better, like a sage kind of color I could picture as well, or maybe lavender. Depending, I guess it depends how all of my current projects will fulfill my need for very autumnal colors. If that need is not fulfilled, I'll probably go for a darker, richer color. If it is, then I might switch over to something more lighter. Let's see, pastel. Let's see. But other than that, I'm also very much in love with a forthcoming design, which is the Tendreil sweater. I believe that's how you pronounce it, by the Knit Purl girl. It's this stunning sweater that has this sort of lightning mock cable shoulder detail that captured my eye. And Sophie, so the Knit Purl girl, she also uploaded a picture at some point on her Instagram where she wears it in a pretty cropped form, and I just think it looks so nice because it's a bit thicker. It's not a chunky knit, but it just looks quite weighty somehow. And then with this cropped, or it looks quite boxy, but the combination of the boxy fit and the cropped fit somehow hit a nerve for me, and I'm really eager to make this one. She also has a sample in a very bright blue and a sample in, I think, pear gynt, that is a tweed, again with colored tweed. I think it's pear gynt tutti frutti or something like that, and both of them look so pretty. So I'm waiting for this pattern to be released. I think it will come out at the end of October or something, and then I might add that to my end of fall winter plans because it's just stunning. I love it. Okay, and then one last honorable mention that I want to potentially knit at some point in the upcoming months would be a Lento sweater. The Lento had a very high popularity at the beginning of this year because there was a knit-along happening by Amy Palko and Rebecca Clow from the Crea Bear, and I did not participate in that knit-along because that's when I started knitting more seriously and I was still working on some other things. But I am very intrigued by this sweater because I think it only uses very little yarn in general, or very little fingering weight yarn, and then you hold it together with lace weight yarn, knit it at a quite large gauge, which makes it quicker but also kind of lightweight. And I love different versions of it that I've seen from Lydia over at Rhabarber Knits, and also Marlene from Marlene Knits made one, I think, and Chelsea Trulane. They all made very nice versions using hand-dyed speckled yarn and holding that together with strand of lace. And I don't have a speckled hand-dyed yarn sweater yet, and I think that pattern makes some special yarn shine so nicely, at least in the examples that I've seen with other knitters. So I'm in the market for picking up 2 to 3 skeins of fingering weight special hand-dyed yarn, maybe at some point in the upcoming months, and making a Lento for myself. The gauge is just really intriguing to me, and the way that you can use special skeins for it. Alright, moving on to accessories. I have a few here, as I said. Not feeling socks at the moment, but I do have a few others. The first one that I want to talk about is the Oslo hat, which I briefly held up already. The Oslo hat by Petite Knit, which I am knitting already. I cast this on Saturday as a first day of fall cast on to celebrate, and it's knit in this lovely, I have to sort through this pile of knits that I just shoved into a corner after showing them to you. Okay, so I'm knitting it in this yarn, which is a fingering weight sock yarn that I picked up at my local yarn shop, Knitty City. It's from a fairly small designer. In fact, online I only ever see them being sold in some yarn shops across the US, but couldn't really find their own website. The company is called Friendly Products, and this is their burnt amber. It's this really nice luminant orangey yarn. It shows up lighter, like on camera. I would say it's a bit more brown leaning than that. Not sure how well this is represented because depending on how the light hits, it has a lot of depth. I think that's why it shows up so different, but I love the depth that it has because it's just such a joy to knit with, and it also looks so pretty in the hat. You can see it here a bit, that, yeah, you see all this little variation in the hat. So this is the first one that I had on my list and which I have started making. I think this will be a great project to take onto the plane with me at the end of this week and just continue knitting merrily in the round. I also want to make another hat this season, but I'm not super decided on a pattern yet. I do have the yarn for it, however. So at Flock Fiber Festival, which I didn't go to, Chelsea picked up some yarn for me. Very, very grateful for that. And she picked up this beautiful La Bien-Aimée Merino DK in the color Autumn Hydrangea. It's this pink rose colored yarn with multicolored speckles in here. You can see here maybe some of them are more like golden orange leaning, some of them more aqua or purple even. You have a bit of yellow down here. So there's lots of nice lighter speckles in here. And we were planning to maybe make a hat with this together. I think with this yarn, almost any hat could be nice. Maybe one of the more classic hat patterns, like the ribbed hat by Purl Soho, or the hipster hat, I guess, by Petite Knit could work, like as ribbed hats. But when I got this in the mail from Chelsea, for some reason in my mind I was like, cabled hat. Interestingly enough, when I went out there on Ravelry and all the designers that I had in mind, cabled hats often tend to be brimless, or like you have a brim but not folded brim, so that it's just the one kind of like band and then it goes into the cables. And I don't love that look so much. I would picture rather a hat with a folded brim and then cables. And as I said, there are not so many out there, at least not ones that I could find. So if you have recommendations, please drop recommendations below. But the one that I found that looked really, really nice is the Tendreil hat by Sari Nordland. This hat is, again, it has the brim, it has the cables, it doesn't have a bobble, which I think in this combination is actually quite nice because the cables already have a lot of visual interest to them anyways. And I love this combination of simple kind of rib and then interrupted by the cables. The gauge for this one is a little bit different to the DK weight because I believe the hat calls for holding sport weight and lace together to make it into a worsted weight, whereas this one is a DK weight. But I feel like I could either just cast on the same thing but with the same needles and then maybe see if the gauge is too airy for me, because obviously I also don't want like a too holy like too many holes in my hat. Otherwise I could maybe go down a needle size. The problem is that the pattern only comes in one size, so going down a needle size would mean that the head circumference range for me would shift a little bit lower, but maybe that could still work. I will have to figure it out. Otherwise, in the very, very worst case, I might find like a lace weight yarn to hold with this. Let's see. I'm still considering. I'm not 100% happy yet with the pattern in terms of, because I need to figure out the gauge. Other than that, I think the pattern is really pretty, so yeah, maybe this will become a cabled hat, but could also just become a simpler one. Let's see. But in any case, this cabled hat pattern, I just really like it. But again, curious that with the vests, somehow there seems to be a predominance of cabled vests with v-necks and cabled hats without folded brims. But maybe I just didn't look properly. Now, moving away from the hats, I also have 2 scarves or shawls in mind that I want to make. There are many more scarves that I want to make. Scarves and the tiny scarves. I made a video about this about 4 months ago about tiny scarves, kind of like the Sophie scarf, but also other patterns that use little yarn, so maybe like 50 grams or even less, that you can make out of a single skein or a special skein. And I've only knit 1 pattern from that list that I made, so I have a lot of them still left on my wish list. And one that is very much at the top at this moment is the Soul Sister scarf by Sari Nordland, which comes in 2 different lengths, but both are fine, but I'm kind of curious about the shorter length. And it has this kind of dip stitch rib. It's not a normal dip stitch, I guess, or maybe it is. A very interesting texture to it. And this morning I woke up and I was like, would that be nice in a really fluffy, dark, foresty green? And then I could look like fall impersonated in this combination with this cardigan, a dark green mini scarf, and an orange hat. Or, yeah, I don't know. I just had this vision of a green fluffy yarn, and I know that one of my local yarn shops carries something that would work for that. I'll blend it in here. So maybe I'll still do a quick trip there to pick up that yarn. Not sure yet, but I'm very, very intrigued. Also, tiny scarves are kind of quick projects, right? And if I don't want to knit so many socks at this point, maybe they're a good on-the-go project, because you always need on-the-go projects. I'm going to be on trains a lot this month, so might be a good thing to pick up this yarn still. I don't know. And then also I still want to knit the Sophie scarf, because I've never made a Sophie scarf before, but I just feel like using some very special skeins of yarn and making something other than socks with them is something that I want to try out more this season. Bigger sister of the Sophie scarf, the Sophie shawl, that's actually one that is very firmly on my wish list because I have yarn for it. And this is another special Chelsea delivery, not from Flock Fiber Festival itself, but we pre-ordered the Flock colorway from Woolbury together after it sold out at Flock very quickly. And I got this berry worsted, which is their worsted weight yarn. It's 100% superwash merino. And as I said, it's in the Flock colorway. And I want to make a Sophie shawl out of this. I just feel like a very simple shawl pattern that makes a cream with wonderful speckled yarn shine. And in winter, my main coats are black, so I feel like lightening it up a bit with this. And I just feel like something that I can wrap around myself properly. And this one is so, so beautiful. It's my first Woolbury yarn, and I had it on my kind of bucket list of yarns also to try some Woolbury. And I just love this selection with these really, really beautiful pops of color, some more darker brownish leaning speckles. I just think it's beautiful, and it's a wonderful combination of simple and special somehow. So this Sophie shawl by Petite Knit is high on my list, and I think I'm also gonna have a micro knit along for this with Melissa over from Wild Nature Knits, because she's also working on a Sophie shawl right now, and I'm always excited to knit things together with other people. So I think this will be a cast on somewhat soonish, maybe still before I board the plane. So I have 2 options to work on, but not entirely sure yet. Alright, this is my list of things, autumn things that I want to knit this fall. And again, likely, definitely not gonna get to all of them, but I'm curious to how many of those I will get. I feel like whenever I made these kind of pattern roundup videos in the past for spring and for summer, I, again, didn't knit all of the garments and accessories that I talked about, but I did manage to get through quite a few of them. So let's see through how many of them I get now. And just overall, apart from the patterns that I'm planning on knitting, I'm very excited about all of these. I think it's a very nice variation of some texture, some more simple things, some darker colors, some lighter colors, some color combinations, stripy color work things. It's just very exciting to me, and also very exciting to try some new techniques, like what I did now with the Ingrid sweater, like my first mock cables, my first actual cables. It's just, I'm just really, really excited, and I'm really excited to lean into this season. I've always been a very seasonal gal, I guess. I just love living in a place with seasons, and I mean the the lack of light in autumn and winter can drag me down a bit, but I've also always just liked the cozier, colder months in general, as well as spring and summer. And I feel like since becoming a knitter, I'm just more able to lean into the seasons even further, and that just makes me really, really happy. Now it's not just making a cup of tea, lighting a candle, and reading a book. It's sometimes that, but also it's sometimes putting on a podcast and knitting on my sweater or shawl or whatever. So that just makes me really happy, and really, yeah, I really look forward to do more of that this fall. I will have to see how much of it I can do, because in the next weeks I'll mostly be staying with family and in Airbnbs. So obviously that's not the same as, I don't know, decorating for fall, making your home cozy. Let's see when we will find an apartment in London. We'll have to start looking. But hopefully at some point I'll be able to build my own cozy corner, and in the meantime bring coziness into whatever foreign corner with my knitting and with my books. And yeah, I think that's all I wanted to talk about today. I'm gonna go back to snacking on chocolate raisins now, because I'm on a very chocolate raisin hype. It started in a very stupid way. I bought a bag, a handbag, the color of that handbag is called chocolate raisin, and I mean, the color of the handbag chocolate raisin, it's brown, right? You don't know that there's a raisin inside if it's just the outside color. Obviously there's no raisin inside the bag, but just the color description to me makes no sense, because you could also just say chocolate, but obviously chocolate raisin sounds more special, and it made me crave chocolate raisins so much. And I don't even like raisins that much, but just this combination is perfect. Even better with some sort of like pretzel peanut butter, these kind of like pretzel nuggets that are filled with peanut butter. Those two in combination are my favorite snack at the moment. Just saying, if you need a recommendation, go for the chocolate raisins with peanut butter salt pretzels kind of thing. Okay, I will wrap this up here before I start talking about other snacks and other things. I hope you enjoyed this video. I would be very, very curious if anything from what I talked about is on your list, if you have made it before maybe, and if you have some thoughts on it, or also in general what you're very, very eager and curious to knit this season. No matter if it's, yeah, the start of autumn for you now in the Northern Hemisphere, or maybe the start of spring in the Southern Hemisphere. Always happy to see new patterns and chat to you guys. I always love the comment section after I upload a new video, because it's just so nice to be in contact and in exchange with all of you. And yeah, again, if you like this video, you can give it a like or subscribe if you haven't done so yet. And I will come back with a podcast episode some point soon. And until then, I hope you're very, very cozy and happy with your knitting, and I will see you then. Bye bye.